सपदी गृह कुटुंबम दीनाम उत्सृज्य दीनः भवः इह विहंगः भिक्षु चार्यां चरन्ति यद अनुचरिता लीला कर्णपीयूष विप्रोट सकृत अदन विधुता द्वंद्व धर्म विनाष्टा सपदी गृह कुटुंबम दिनम उत्सृज्य दीना बहव इह विहंगा भिक्षुचार्यं चरन्ति यद अनुचरित लीला कर्णपीयूष विप्रोट सकृत अदन विधुता द्वंद्व धर्म विनाष्टः सपदी गृह कुटुंबम दिन उत्सृज्य दीना बहव इह विहंगा भिक्षुचार्यां चरन्ति यद अनुचरित लीला कर्णपीयूष विप्रोट सकृदादन विधुता द्वंद्व धर्म विनाष्टा सपदी गृह कुटुंबम दीनमुत्सृज्य दीना बहव इह विहंगा भिक्षुचार्यां चरन्ति कर्णपीयूष विप्रोट सकृत अदन विधुता द्वंद्व धर्म विनष्टा सपदी गृह कुटुंबम दीनमुत्सृज्य दीना बहव इह विहंगा भिक्षुचार्यां चरन्ति यद अनुचरिता लीला कर्ण विप्रोत सकृत अदन विधुता द्वंद्व धर्म विनष्टा सपद गृह कुटुंबम दिनमुत्सृज्य दीना भव इह विहंगा भिक्षुचार्यां चरन्ति यदनुचरिता लीला कर्णपीयूष विप्रोत सकृत द्वंद्व विधुता द्वंद्व धर्म विनष्टा सपदी गृह कुटुंबम दिनमुत्सृज्य दीना भव इह विहंगा भिक्षुचार्य चरन्ति यद अनुचरित लीला कर्णपीयूष विप्रोट सकृत अदन विधुता द्वंद्व धर्म विनष्टा सपदी गृह कुटुंबम दिन उत्सृज्य दीना भव इह विहंगा भिक्षुच लेडीज यदनुचरित लीला कर्णपीयूष विप्रोत सकृत अदन विदुता द्वंद्व धर्म विनष्टा स्वगीत गृह कुटुंबम दिनमुस bhavaya vihanga bhikshucha. Yat, whose anucharita constantly performed activities, Leela of such pastimes, Karna for the ears, Piyusha of the nectar, Viprut of a drop, Sakrit just once, Adana by the partaking, Vidhuta removed entirely, Dvandva of duality, Dharmaha their propensities, Vinashataha ruined, Sapadi immediately, Griha their homes, Kutumbam and families, Deenam wretched, Utsrijya rejecting, Deenaha becoming themselves wretched, Bahava many persons, Iha here in Vrindavan, Vihangaha like birds, Bhikshu of begging, Charyam the livelihood, Charanti they pursue. Translation and purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. To hear about the pastimes that Krishna regularly performs is nectar for the ears. For those who relish just a single drop of that nectar, even once, their dedication to material duality is ruined. Many such persons have suddenly given up their wretched homes and families, and themselves become wretched, travelled here to Vrindavan to wander about like birds, begging for their living. Purport: material duality is based on falsely thinking this is mine and that is yours, or this is our country and that is yours, this is my family and that is yours, and so on. In fact, there is one absolute truth in which we all exist and to whom everything belongs. His beauty and pleasure are also absolute and infinite. And if one actually hears about this absolute truth called Krishna, one's dedication to the illusion of mundane duality is spoiled. According to the Acharyas, and certainly in accord with Sanskrit grammar, the last two words of the second line of this text may also be divided dharma avinashtaha. Then the entire line becomes part of a single compound, the meaning of which is that hearing about Krishna cleanses one of irreligious duality, and thus one is not vanquished, avinashta, by material illusion. The word dinaha is then given the alternate reading of dhiraha, meaning that one becomes spiritually sober and thus gives up attachment to fleeting material relationships. The word vihanga, birds, would in this case refer to swans, the symbol of essential discrimination. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes Rupa Goswami as follows in connection with this verse. Bhangya tva gauchati tasya khaganam api khedanat yatra shanu shayam prokta tad bhaved abhijalpitam. When a lover indirectly states with remorse that her beloved is fit to be given up, such speech uttered like the plaintive crying of a bird is called abhijalpa. Ujjwala Nilamani 14.194. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Shahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. My obeisances to His Grace Bhavananda Prabhu. I was expecting you to be here sitting today, but like in school they have what is called as a surprise test. That means they just suddenly the teacher decides today's surprise exam. So in the same way, today morning at 5:45 some teachers came to me, 3 of them, and said, today you have an exam. So I was almost lovingly forced to sit here and speak something on this very powerful subject. I would qualify my position to speak here by reminiscing one question I asked to Bhavanand Prabhu many years ago in one of his classes. I said, Prabhu, we heard so many things, we have read so many things, we've been around for a while. Why is it that we are still attached to material life? And he looked at me very strongly and said, because we are fools. Because we are rascals, because we are stupid. So that was a perfect answer. And I want to remember that, because that describes me appropriately. So what is the qualification of a fool or a stupid person to speak on the song of a bumblebee? Bhagavad Gita, song of God. Even that song is so difficult to understand. When Krishna speaks basic, simple, what Prabhupada calls as that meant for Stri, Shudra and Dvija Bandhus, part of Mahabharata. So even that Gita is so difficult for ordinary mortal like us to understand. What talk of a song sung by a bumblebee? It's way beyond the scope of our remotest understanding of what's happening here. So it's pretty ridiculous that we are trying to even understand this. Years ago, when we were going to, I do not know where this took place, this conversation, but I guess it took place at Uddhav Gyari, maybe somewhere else, I don't know, but at least there's a place which is designated as Uddhav Gyari today. It is one opposite Nandagaon, that road. And years ago, when Guru Maharaj had taken us to that place, it was just after monsoon, and the whole road to that place, it's a small walk, about 100 meters, but that 100 meters was covered with water and muck, and the bubble trees of which Vrindavan is famous, those thorny big ones, 2-inch, 3-inch long thorns, they were all strewn from both sides into the water. So they were all there, and it was a challenge if one could take one step without poking his non-lotus feet with agonizing pain. So we are about 200 of us, we are just trying to walk, and we don't know where the foot is going to land because it is water. And you put your leg and Krishna. Practically, we took about 2 hours to walk 100 meters of land because everything was painful. Now, there is one Acharya called as Narayan Bhatta Goswami, who's supposed to have said that every thorn in Vrindavan which hurts you is like millions of times more than a Brahmananda. But we were not feeling like that at all. It was far from Brahmananda. It was just simple pain to our souls, which are used to slippers and boots and shoes. We're never used to walking barefoot in the city. So, the reason why this place is like this, was like that, now it is a good road, mud road you can walk through, is obviously because Krishna doesn't want anybody and everybody to come there. Because it is such a special place. Because the most exalted discussion of a very intimate nature was between the topmost lovers of Braj and the topmost friend of Krishna. So that dialogue was obviously so confidential, the place was so confidential that any mortal could not just walk into the place and start speculating on the subject matter. So, of course, this time when we went, it was an easy walk, but I was reminiscing that it is a very special place. And if you are not careful, then we may fall. But the first line is very relevant here. The first line is very, very relevant to all of us. This is what the gopis are saying. I believe this is Radharani speaking. To hear about the pastimes that Krishna regularly performs is nectar for the ears. Now this is something which we need to obviously, which can hope for. Krishna consciousness is a process of unlimited hope. And the most hopeless of all hopeless people, even a Chandal or a Mlecha or anybody lower than that, even he has hope. So we may not really feel like this, that it is like Piyusha to our ears. We would rather like to drink that drink called Piyush. It's a drink called Piyush. We would rather prefer that. But we know from the Bhagavat that there is something very beautiful in these wonderful pastimes of Krishna. And what is it ultimately that this king who's sitting there thirsty and hungry and sleepless and just in one position for 7 long years, this is now 10th canto, so let's not forget this is almost the 7th day probably going on, or maybe the end of the 6th day at least, and today evening or by tomorrow night, this great king Parikshit is going to leave his body. And just 24 hours before his departure from this mortal world, of which he was the king, he was ruling this place, everything here was his to enjoy, and now he's sitting there almost in a loincloth, and hearing this person speak. What was sustaining his life? What is that was making him fearless? What is that making him completely peaceful? A small hunger of and a thirst of a Nirjal Ekadashi, we just went few days back, creates anxiety for us, right? Today is Nirjal. Everyone is like, oh, you sit in an AC room somewhere, you just don't do anything, just keep doing, the least activity, you don't dance in Kirtan so much, don't sweat so much, don't get tired, don't walk, take the lift on that day. So, conserve your water, conserve your energy. One Nirjal of 36 hours, is like a, serious affair, we look for the whole year. But here's the king sitting there for 7 days with a drop of the water. What was sustaining his life? There has to be a good reason. He was sustained by the nectar which was not entering from his mouth, but entering from his ears. The word Piyusha is translated as nectar. So this nectar is soul-sustaining elixir. Food and drink can at best only sustain your decaying, dying body. Which with the best of foods and vitamins, you're still going to die. If not 60, then 80 or whatever. You're going to die. But this Piyusha sustains and soaks the soil of the soul itself. Unfortunately, our heart has become so dry, like a desert, because all moisture from the soil is dried up by the heat. When you have a ground, right, it doesn't rain there for a long, long time. Sometimes you see in these photographs, Africa or wherever, and there has been a famine, you see this cracked land. And the other day I saw a photograph in the hospital. There was African boys sitting there, 3 of them, just absolutely emaciated, obviously hungry, and the land behind was like famished, nothing there, dry, all cracked land, no water, because the sun is scorchingly drying up every molecule of water from the earth, completely parched up. Something very similar is happening to our heart also. Without the soaking nourishment of Krishna Katha and the Trividatap, the threefold miseries which are acting so much on our consciousness, the Adi Bhautik miseries, the Adi Daivik miseries, the Adhyatmic miseries, miseries from the body, the mind, and what we've been suffering for millions of years, that Trividatap is so intense, the Trishul of Durga Devi is so intense that all the moisture from the soil of the soul has been dried up, and we are completely dry. We're trying to enjoy in this desert. That's what Prabhupada says. We're trying to enjoy not the desert, but the so-called mirage in the desert. There is a mirage which is there, and in mirage we try to enjoy. Oh, there is something, it's coming. And the poor camel, not being educated, just keeps walking, and he dies for another life of a chase of the same mirage, and another life, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam. Again, you lie in the womb of your next mother, and going on like that. So, anadi karma phale paribhavar nava jale. Thakur Bhaktivedanta saying how this is going on so much. This is the solution. This is the solution which Shukdev Goswami is giving us. This is the solution Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas are giving us. Right? To allow that drop to again start fertilizing, nourishing our dry heart soul. To give up all prajalpa, all nonsensical news of this world, what he's doing, what she's doing. It will not reach the soul. It can at the most titillate the mind and stimulate with some sensory stimulation and some sense of, it feels good. You hear something which is like that, some prajalpa here and there, this and that, whatever, worldly things. But it doesn't touch the soul. We need something to touch the soul. What is it in the material world which can touch the soul? Our soul means what? The soul is me. It's myself. It's my existence. It's soul. Am Brahmasmi. I am the consciousness. What is it in this world which touches the consciousness? Only the nectar of the activities of the Supreme Consciousness can touch the consciousness. The Supreme Consciousness is the Supreme Absolute Truth, Krishna. Right? That was sustaining Parishit Maharaj. It's not just, Krishna is completely nectar. His katha is obviously nectar. His sight is nectar. The Brijvasis were standing for 7 days under that mountain. Again, there was a lot of unlimited rain outside, but they were not taking a glass of water and Bisleri and in between just having a sip of water and, quenching their thirst. They were just beholding this beautiful blue-colored boy whose rainbow-like peacock feather was shining, and a cloud-like beautiful body and a smile, and the dhoti was like glistening lightning from that cloud, effulgent. Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadanda koti. This prabha which comes as a molecule in this world as a sun. A molecule of that prabha is the sun. That is the unlimited prabha of the Lord. Just standing and beholding that. Our heart has become like the ruins of Harappa civilization. The Harappa civilization is a good example of what our heart is going through. It was once a flourishing land of milk and ghee and nectar and honey and cows and whatever else was there in that city of Harappa. Huh? The valleys of time, the waves of time is dust has covered. Dust has covered. It looks like a desert now. So hardly like a desert. But we open the desert. The archaeologists are expert in opening up the desert, digging. Oh, they find some artifacts. Oh, there's coins here. There's a tools here. There are this here and that here. Oh, so when you dig your heart, oh, you find, yes, probably there is a city below this. Yes, the city of Vrindavan, the town of Vrindavan, the village of Vrindavan is there underneath this desert. Huh? It is waiting for us to again start living in that city. The beauty of Krishna's love. That beautiful song by Vallabhacharya, Madhurashtakam. Huh? You call it, yeah, Krishna is said is having his words are nectar, right? The katha is nectar. Huh? But everything, Krishna, the song says, he is the emperor of nectar. Madhuradi Pati. Madhur, nectar. Pati is the king of sweetness. Huh? And then he goes to describe what must be the meditation of this great, beautiful Acharya. Huh? How intimately seeing and experiencing Krishna within his heart. Gamanam Madhuram. His gait is so wonderful. How he walks. Huh? How we walk. Nobody is, you don't look at people's gaze and say, yeah, wow, how he walks. Everyone just walks, right? And then you have to have a cat walk, and then, whatever, right? People walk, they walk. You have two sticks and you just walk like that. It's nothing attractive about that, right? People just go from place to place by two sticks called the legs. But Krishna's gait, all attractive. If you see Krishna walking once, you will faint just by looking at his gait. How he walks, wow. Right? Adharam Madhuram, his lips. Tilakam Madhuram, his tilak. Everything Madhuradipati. Akhilam. Everything about Krishna. The whole song is worth meditating upon sometimes. In our solitude of, we can sing of this song. This is the person whom we are worshipping. This is the person whom we are trying to surrender our lives to. This is the person we are hankering for. This is this person George Harrison was singing about. My sweet Lord. He was singing about him. Where are you? He was experiencing on Prabhupada's teachings. Prabhupada taught him. This is a young boy, George, 21 years old. Prabhupada, seeing his fertile heart, just hankering for Krishna, dried up by all these phantasmagoria of fanship and fan clubbing and millions of people who are just exploiting him for their own sense gratification, singing songs for their pleasure. And nothing he's getting, he's just getting dried up. And he met this great ocean of love called Prabhupada. And he just took to him so wonderfully, like a child takes to the mother, practically. Prabhupada like a mother feeds him. You've seen this crow? And mother crow comes and puts something right in the beak. The child is just open the mouth and tick, tick, tick. Prabhupada fed him with his love, with Krishna Katha. And immediately George's heart imbibed the mood of what Prabhupada was teaching him. And in 71, just 3 years after meeting Prabhupada, just 3 years. Imagine. We have been around for a while, but we don't feel like George. Where is my son? I want to see you. I want to be with you. But it's taking so long. Where are you, Krishna? Where are you? He could immediately grab this mood of the gopis. Hankering for Krishna. Right? But it is so beautiful. He was an ecstasy singing that song. And whatever happened to him afterwards, he was a complete flop. George went completely flop. He lost his fan club completely. But the song is his signature creation. And then this, what he gave us, Govindam Adipurusham prayers, is his creation. Right? Harrison, George Harrison, the son of Hari. Right? Prabhupada used to call him like that. Prabhupada used to call him the son of Hari, Harrison. This song was written for the first time by the firstborn of Krishna. His name is Brahma. Brahma is also the first son of Krishna. He is Hari's son. Son of Hari. And the same song which was in Sanskrit so many years ago, at the dawn of creation, written by Brahma, in his divine revelation, which you saw on the lotus flower sitting there and meditating on Braj. The same song after so many millions and millions of years, again by the son of Hari, as Prabhupada called him, was rendered into divine music. And Prabhupada heard that for the first time at one of the temples. He closed his eyes and said, "This is divine. Play it in every temple during Shringar." Right? Because this describes the beauty and sweetness of Krishna. Venum Kwanantam Arvinda Dalayataksham. How wonderful is Krishna. His Venu, everything about Krishna is so beautiful. And Brahma was completely absorbed and pouring his heart out, describing Krishna's beauty, whom we see every day in front of our eyes. And yet we don't see him actually because our hearts are not anointed with that pure love that the gopis had. But yes, it is definitely nectar. And we want to hanker for this. We must hanker for the right thing. There's nothing wrong with hankering. It is said that hankering, lamentation is the quality of a Shudra. Shudra has two qualities. He hankers and he laments. Because he hankers in this world and hankers for this and that. And obviously the world doesn't provide that. There are limited resources and there's so much competition. Everyone grabbing for the same thing. Everyone, it's like you have Prabhupada says a bag of, rice in the, open marketplace. A bird comes and takes a few big, beakfuls and goes away. But the man says, "Ye mera hai." And it is, fight for that. So obviously, most of us who are like Shudras, we hanker and we lament. That's all actually, in one sense, Prabhupada calls it as material life. Just two things. Hankering and lamenting. Lamenting for what? For two reasons. Either you had it and you lost it, you hanker for it. You lost, so you lament. A loved one, some money, your health, your whatever, your job. You had it, you lost it, so you lament for it. Right? Or you don't get it, so you lament for it. So that's all material life is actually constituting of, just hankering, lamentation. Meaningless existence. Hankering for something absolutely not worthy. Let's, after reading this 10th canto, which we have reached gradually out of first and 10th, 7th, 8th, 10th canto we have reached. Let's hanker, at least let us develop that desire to hanker for that right thing. Let's do the hankering and lament if we are not getting that. Let's lament for that. That when will I get this? When will our heart really hanker for hearing about Krishna and lose all desire for prajalpa? Once and for all. No more all this nonsense of prajalpa. What is there? Nothing is there. And Krishna is testimony for his own katha. He says, and he knows what is his, we say that Krishna doesn't know what he is, but that's on a rasa tattva, fine. But Krishna knows what he is. Because he's all knowing, obviously he knows what he is. Right? Krishna knows that I am very beautiful. It's not that I am the emperor of sweetness. He knows this. He knows it, that he is the reservoir of all pleasure. He knows it. Therefore, he gives us a chance in Gita by saying the 10th chapter. Machita madgata prana bodhayantascha parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti ramanti. He tells us, he gives us this offer, a free offer. He said, I will give you something which will completely satisfy you forever. Ramanti, you will become completely lost in this. your heart will be completely soaked. Like you have soaked. Like you have a rasgulla, right? What is a rasgulla? It's soaked in sugar syrup. It just lives there. Just lives in sugar syrup all the time. That's it. Huh? Till a diabetic patient comes and squeezes the whole thing. I've got diabetes. Ooh. But he wants to have the rasgulla, so he squeezes it, the last drop of sugar syrup, and then he takes only the paneer part. But till that time, the rasgulla just stays in sugar syrup life. Huh? That's what the soul is hankering for. That is the soul's adhikar. It is a birthright of the soul to live in the soaking syrup of Krishna Katha all the time. Huh? Always. That is what Prabhupada has given us. That tushanti, parasparam, he says that this is what we should be talking about when we meet each other. We don't do that so much, is it not? When we meet each other, we don't really talk about Krishna nowadays. Huh? We talk about everything else but Krishna. You don't know tell what topics you talk about, but that's open secret. But we talk about so many things when we meet, devotees meet, but we don't talk about Krishna. Huh? Let's not forget that's the only thing which really satisfies our heart. The heart is really hankering for that. Archa Vigraha Devi Dasi, this very, very wonderful disciple of Giriraj Swami Maharaj. And many devotees we can name. There have been, ISKCON is flooded with so many examples of departing devotees. Just like Parishad Maharaj. The whole story of Bhagavatam is about a departing soul. The whole scripture is about a person who is about to die. All these 18,000 verses are about the story of a dying man. That's the whole thing, the story of a dying man. That's it. And it's a world famous scripture now, the topmost scripture, Bhagavad Puran. It's a story of a dying man. That's it. 7 days of a dying man. What's the duty of a person who's about to die? So many of our disciples and our fellow devotees who have been contemporary people whom we have seen, heard, lived with, they are testimony to this particular thing. It is not just a utopian idea that this is the nectar for the soul. This is not a utopian idea. This is a real. It's a reality. And some of you sitting in this Bhagavatam class who are hearing every day may have probably experienced that nectar to a certain extent already. Some of you are hearing this every day for several decades now. And I'm sure your hearts are soaking this every day. Of course, I am not so fortunate to develop a taste as yet. I don't find it so interesting still. But we have devotees who have lived dedicated lives to Prabhupada's lotus feet. And having served Prabhupada and his divine mission, what do they get at the end of life? What do they really get in the end of life? Do they get a bungalow or a free car or something? What do they really get? They get one very special coupon. One special, very special gift card. Vasudeva Katha Ruchi. Once who serves Srila Prabhupada's mission with care, as Radhanath Maharaj has quoted for us from Prabhupada's book, if you serve Krishna seriously, sincerely, and without selfish motive, then you will go back to God in this lifetime. Right? So this is what we have all been trained to repeat again and again and understand in our hearts. Right? So what are we expecting at the end of life? This coupon, this gift card from Krishna, the matchless gift of Krishna, where we will develop this Vasudeva Katha Ruchi. We are not hankering by staying in ISKCON for anything else, for positions and power. That we could have got in living in the material world. Right? You just take a job somewhere and do a pretty good job, serve your boss nicely. Don't flatter him, don't Muscofy him, but serve, do sincerely your work. And he'll be happy with it, and he will give you a promotion, he'll give you a rise, and then you go from level 0 to level 2 and level 3. You can get you can get power and money and everything outside also. We didn't come to ISKCON for that, for power and money. It's mundane, it's cheap. It will vanish. Nothing which really matters for the soul there. We have not come here for power and position. We come here for developing Vasudeva Katha ruchi. This is what gopis are telling us today. This is the central message of what they're telling us, that to hear about the pastimes of Krishna regularly performed is nectar for the ears. And we want this nectar because this is the only nectar which will grant the soul immortal existence. The soul is by nature immortal, yes. But soul has become so illusioned to start enjoying the mortal body, the mortal subjects. All the subjects of this mortal world. We have learned to enjoy this. But the antidote, like when some people take what is called as tick 20. You know what is tick 20? Tick 20. It's a rat poison. It's a rat poison. It's sold on the streets. I don't know, 10 rupees, whatever. But someone is frustrated with life, a lost loved one, or broken heart, love affair. These days, all that happens all the time. Or maybe exam, somebody failed in exam, whatever. It's all on the road. You have pocket money, you just buy a couple of bottles. Don't take me seriously, don't do it. But don't get ideas from my class. If you're frustrated. But they drink, take 20 and they go. Become unconscious. And medical science knows how to identify, because there are various poisons, there are various different signs of poisons. Whether it is snake poison or this poison, that. So we have various signs of understanding from the body, examination, blood test, etc. What's happening. We send a blood sample, we send a urine sample, we know. Is it cannabis, is it cocaine, is it the amphetamine, whatever poison he has taken. But there are some poisons which have antidotes. Not all. Like you have a snake. There are antidotes. Anti-snake venom. Right? You give injections of this and of course depends on how soon you come to the doctor. If you come in time, even if a cobra bites you, your life may still be saved. Right? So similarly, these people who take atropine, they take this tick 20, there is a specific antidote which can completely neutralize the effect of this poison. And people who are even dying practically, and they are on the ventilator machine, even they can be salvaged out to live a normal life, a matter of 10 to 15 days. Right? So we have become, this poison of material existence has affected our soul. This is the antidote. This is the only antidote. Just hearing about Krishna, there is a word used here called Vidhuta. Vidhuta means the same thing which you heard in Bhagavatam first canto. Vidhunoti. Vidhuta, vidhunoti. Surat satam. The same word. This washes away. So we can only cleanse ourselves of material desires, not just by desiring for it, like the Mayavadis, is desire. Don't do anything about it. Just renunciation, dry renunciation, Phalgu Vairagya. It doesn't really go away like that. We have to replace that. Krishna is a system of replacement, of positive replacement. Not of negation, but of positivity. You replace the poisonous effect of material existence of millions of years by the positivity of Krishna Katha. Maharaj Kulashekara. What was his absorption? Like Parishad Maharaj was absorbed. Talking about absorption, the best example that comes to mind always is Kulashekara Maharaj. What is his absorption? This is what the Katha actually has for us in store. That when you hear it, you just hear it. Maharaj Kulashekara was actually experiencing it. Hearing in Krishna consciousness is non-different from, is equal to. Like you have A equal to B, B equal to C, like that. So hearing is equal to experiencing. Why? Prabhupada says, if you say pani, 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 water, 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 you will not get the water. But the water substance and the thing water is different. There's a duality between the substance and the name. But because Krishna is an absolute person, hearing about is equal to experiencing Him. Imagine. We can simply hear and experience what is happening in Braj. What Krishna Maharaj was hearing Krishna about Ramchandra, and Sita Maya is kidnapped, and Ravan is harassing her in the Ashoka groves, and then this king, Kshatriya, is saying, going to destroy this fellow called Ravan now, right now. It looks like a pretty, it looks like a joke. Come on, this happened millions of years ago. Just sit down. Sit down, Prabhu, sit down. Nothing is really happening here. You are in your palace, it's a nice curtains here, lot of nice ivory furniture. You are in your palace, you are in, Sri Rangam. You are not in Lanka. No, he was convinced that he has to go and save Mother Sita. And he got the own army to come. Come on! And he was the first one to march out of his palace. And he went. He was absorbed. I have to save Mother Sita's life from this wretched soul called Ravan. And he kept on going. And this whole huge ocean, Sri Rangam was the bank of the ocean. And he went walking into the ocean with a sword. I'm coming! And he was in the ocean. And he's deep down the ocean. He said, I'm coming! He was not hallucinating. He was experiencing. Right? And his experience was so real, was so genuine, and so perfect, that Lord Ram had to come from the ocean and said, the war is over. Relax. The war is over. Sita Maya has been rescued. The monkey kings and all of them guys have defeated Ravan. Everything is finished. Don't worry. You go back to your palace. Ram had to come himself to save this king from drowning in the ocean. That was the level of Maharaj Kurushekar's absorption. When Parishad Maharaj is hearing the stories of Vrindavan, he is not just hearing it. Yeah, go on. 12 hours to go, 6 hours to go, 3 hours to go, 2 hours, 1 hour. Okay. He is not bothered. Let that so-called whatever takshak, fakshak, whatever is there, let him come and do whatever he wants to do. He's not bothered about that. He is experiencing Braj. And that experience, as Prabhupada says, is such a higher taste. It's such a higher taste that everything else becomes pale in comparison. This body, the sensual pleasures, the kingship of this world. He was already so high. He was already so high in his consciousness that it didn't really matter whether he lives or even dies. Archavikra Devidasi, same thing. She was in mortal pain because of cancer in her spine, cancer all over her body. Spinal metastasis is very, very painful. It's not even sometimes treated by morphine properly. Agonizing pain. And some fellow devotee, God sister, was just reading Srimad Bhagavatam to her. Same scripture which we are reading, trying to hear every day. The same thing. Nothing new was being done at the time of death. Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya. At the time also same. At the death also same thing. Birthday, dead day, whatever, same thing. Every day same thing. Just keep hearing Krishna Katha. Time of death, she is in pain. And what is this dying lady's realization? That as I am hearing Prabhupada every day, I am experiencing Prabhupada. As if he is sitting beside my bedside and reading this to me. And the experience is so intense and so endearing to my heart that my Guru is really sitting with me and teaching me the Bhagavatam, that I would not like to trade this part of my life for anything of this world. Imagine a person who is about to die, is in agonizing pain. You're always going to trade that for anything. Will this pain go for a medicine which costs 1,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, $100,000? Take the money and relieve my pain. It's so bad. I don't want to trade this for anything of this world. Because I'm feeling that I'm sitting on the bank of the Ganga and hearing from Shukdev Goswami Maharaj. This is the experience of a regular devotee in our movement who just lived a sincere life of devotion to Prabhupada's lotus feet. Just genuinely trying to serve. Whatever capacity. In whatever capacity, as a cook or as a preacher or housewife or anything, any designation, whatever is there, grihastha, vanaprastha, whatever the person may have been, it doesn't really matter. Prabhupada doesn't care. He doesn't care. Just hearing. The nectar they were experiencing was so profound. Nothing really mattered. Experiencing Braj in this body. Braj can be only approached through divine consciousness. It is very clear. The song tells us very clearly. Vishaya chodiya kobe, shuddha hobe mon, kobe hamar herabo, Shri Vrindavan. It's very clear. It's not that we have to go every year to Vrindavan or every Ekadashi or every Julan Yatra. We can go there with a proper motive, no problem. But it's not that we, just by going there, will develop attachment to Braj. That going every year may create some sentimental attachment to Braj. That's possible. And that may be a good beginning towards getting attached to Braj in the real sense. But the real attachment to Braj is not just by physically going there, 10 times. You can only approach Braj, Vishaya, Chodiya, Kobe, Shuddha, Hobe, Mon. We can only approach Vrindavan with a pure mind, with a pure heart, with pure consciousness. And that's what we are here for. We hear Srimad Bhagavatam every day. We purify our consciousness and then we are experiencing Braj in any capacity what we are serving as in this world. As a businessman, as a housewife, whatever we are doing, we are in Braj consciousness. That is the goal of life. That is the gift of Srila Prabhupada, for which we are eternally grateful to him. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Vanand Prabhu. Thanks for the compliment. I take it as your blessings and your approval that what I said was right. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.